media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pulp culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it.
People probably wish we could go back to the days where the price increase was 5 cents or a quarter, but now it's always $1 or $1.25. It's absolutely crazy, but this is what sci-fi.com had to say about the prices increasing all the way back in March of 2021. Both DC and Marvel have almost completely eliminated the $2.99 cover price comic. DC has a couple of Scooby-Doo titles at that price, which is a smart move since they target a younger audience, but almost every other comic from the two biggest publishers starts at $3.99. In fact, June solicitations for both Marvel and DC show a bunch of books listed at $4.99. And that's too many $4.99 comics for me to buy in for 1 month. It's why I skipped King in Black, despite my interest in the event. There are just too many books to pay at $4.99 and $5.99 price points. So that means I skip the floppies and wait for the trade. And price point is very, very important at this time because inflation is very, very high. Disposable income isn't really out there, and you're making people choose between milk and comic books, and that basically is a choice that's the easiest choice in the world. Am I going to eat, or am I going to read a comic book that wasn't even created to be read? It was supposed to only be a collectible. And a lot of people have turned their back on the industry, and what happens when people kind of walk away and your customer base shrinks and shrinks, you got to keep bumping up the price and bumping up the price. And it's really an issue that Marvel and DC have created for themselves. You'll remember the God's #1 debacle, $9.99 for a comic book. That was supposed to be an ongoing. Didn't make it to a year because they fucked up the entire launch of the book by pricing it so sky high that it's not even worth investing at this point. Remember when DC all of a sudden started pricing everything at $4.99? But wait, you got 40 pages because there's a backup story from somebody that you've never even heard of. A lot of those books don't even have the backup story anymore. They're just $4.99, but they're 32 pages now. Anything that's got Absolute on it, anything that's got Ultimate on it, are all going to be $4.99. And it's pretty wild how this thing has happened to where even retailers themselves have come to the conclusion that you can't make money in this market because at the prices that they're charging, there just isn't enough interest, everyday interest from normies to come in and buy Marvel and DC comic books. I'm sure you've all heard of Chuck Brzezinski, the owner of Mile High Comic Books. There was an article from Phil Boyle, I think it was last year, that got a lot of retailers talking about the prices and a lot of issues that were plaguing comic books at the time. And this is what he had to say in a newsletter. This is from one of the most, if not the most successful comic book retailer in North America. I have to just shake my head at these cries and lamentations as I tried to warn everyone about 5 years ago that it's going to take some outrageously entertaining storylines to keep fans consistently shelling out $3.99 each or more for new comics. I personally doubted if that was even going to be possible, so I gently suggested, okay, not so gently, that all direct market comic shops needed to immediately diversify into higher margin collectible products.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday. It's good to be back. We weren't here last week because the prima donna next to me didn't want to do the show. He asked for more money. Can you believe that? He asked for more money.
I know. More money.
No, I'm just kidding. He was sick. He wasn't feeling good. He came down with something when he went to LA Comic Con. And yeah, it was he wasn't feeling up to it, and rightfully so. So we decided to bypass it, and so he could recover. And now we're back. We're back to talk about Price Point. But before we do that, I actually am curious, Kyle. How was real quick before we start? How was LA Comic Con?
LA Comic Con was so awesome. It was so much fun. I had a blast going there because, for one, thing, I love going to conventions specifically because I like to meet up with all the other comic book vendors that I usually don't
Yeah.
see unless I'm at the convention. So it's always fun just shooting the breeze with all of them, catching up, and just having a great time talking to everybody, meeting everybody. And on top of that, at this convention, all four of the Back to the Future cast was at that convention.
That's
So
right. That's
Christopher
right.
Lloyd, who played Doc Brown, Leah Thompson, who played the mom, Tom Wilson, who plays Biff, and then the man himself, Michael J. Fox, who played Marty McFly. And I'm telling you though, you could throw a dart into the entire convention and you'd hit somebody wearing a Marty McFly outfit. There were so
I bet.
many people dressed up in Back to the Future garb. It was awesome, so much fun. And of course, I got the signatures. And what better way to get all the signatures than on the hoverboard?
Ah, nice, dude.
So
you're definitely you are definitely you've been anointed. You are truly a nerd, for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Kyle.
So there's
that's cool, dude. That's
sorry, the light's
cool.
not hitting it very well, but
No,
Christopher
you
Lloyd.
can barely see it. You can barely see it. So how are you gonna I'm curious, how are you going to maintain that? Like how are you gonna keep it, I guess, without it smudging away or with time,
I'm gonna put it in a case. I'm gonna
Oh,
get
okay.
a custom case for it and hang it up somewhere.
Second question. Does that board actually hover?
I wish. It was.
I know,
That's
right?
a premium price you have to pay for that one if you want
you
that.
damn sci-fi writers! You made me think
may-
that we're gonna have hoverboards by the year 2020 or 2000.
Maybe Elon Musk will bring it out with. Maybe he'll have one of his robots right in the hoverboard.
maybe. But other than that, what else did you do in LA Comic Con? Did you pick up any cool comic books? Did you talk to any vendors regarding the state of the industry, or you just have a good time and just hang out?
Let's see. In terms of other people that I saw actually another fan of the channel there. He realized that I was real.
Yeah, that's right. Neff.
Neff, who is the creator of the Mavericks book that we reviewed on our
picked
channel.
Yourself a copy. Oh, it's a new cover. Nice.
This is his other short story that he did. That's called Operation Vitruvius.
Ah,
that's how you
all right.
pronounce it. Vitruvius.
Nice, dude.
Sorry if I don't know how pronounce the name.
Yeah, shout out to Neff from Global Frequency Comics. He is a friend of the show. He's a cool dude, down to earth. And if you are ever, you picked up Judex. Nice, dude.
Yeah,
that's right.
Judex.
He crowdfunded that a year ago, I believe, in Black and White comic.
Have
you read it yet or no?
I haven't read it yet, but
Okay.
I flipped through it. The art in this is fantastic. It is some of the best drawn art that I have seen in a while. And
nice.
Especially for the price point that you're getting this for, even if it's in black and white, it's still amazing. And of course, Neff, he hooked up with a whole bunch of other stuff too, like stickers and stuff like this. And then there was another comic book that he had as well. That was
the Monster. Is that Monster?
Yeah.
No, not Monster.
No, it's part of the same.
Yeah. What's that character's name? I recognize that character. I can't chat. If you guys know this book, please help out.
But anyway, and then a whole bunch of stickers and stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I also got to meet Jeremy Adams. Who is the current writer for the current Green Lantern run.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then also he's the writer of the Flash Gordon.
All right, and we actually reviewed this book for Is It Worth the Pickup, and it was worth the pickup. Flash Gordon looks like a fun book. So I highly recommend it if you guys haven't checked it out yet.
So yeah, that was a lot of cool meeting him, talked to him a lot.
Even if it's black and white. Ole thought your comment was funny.
Well, I didn't mean it as a degrading thing. I meant it as I meant it as a good thing. That like even a black and white comic book is better than the colored, all colored comic books that you have currently. That's what I meant to like insinuate by that.
Sure, Kyle. Sure. Wink.
Whatever. Anyway, the last thing I did was I got this really cool book to add to my collection. This is actually my first non-signature series CGC book, which was Amazing Spider-Man.
Look at that, dude.
Number 252. The first, technically, I guess it says tied for the first appearance of the black suit.
That's still a get, though. I mean, you can't deny that. That's still a great piece to get. Nice, dude. That's a great purchase there.
Yeah.
You don't mind me asking, how much did you pay for it?
I got this for $100.
Okay, not bad. $100,
Yeah.
8.0. Good, pretty good condition.
Yeah. So that was one of the cool things that I got. I also got a few other things. Like I got a custom sketch of a Green Lantern book.
Cool.
But that's being graded right now, so you'll see that at another time whenever.
Okay. Compared to San Diego Comic-Con, what are the biggest differences or similarities between LA Comic-Con and San Diego Comic-Con?
LA Comic-Con versus San Diego is just by far bigger than LA Comic-Con.
Okay.
But in terms of like convention, in terms of all that stuff, there's definitely, I guess, more comic book vendors at LA Comic-Con than there was at San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
And there's a lot more, I guess you would say, not things to do. I guess, there's more things to do at San Diego Comic-Con, but there's a lot more celebrities at LA Comic-Con. LA Comic-Con, I mean, it technically really should be. It really technically should be called like Fan Expo because there was just a ton of celebrities there. So a lot of the people were specifically there just to meet like Marty McFly and all the Back to the Future cast. And then there was a whole bunch of Star Wars people there as well. And then Ian McGregor and Hayden Christensen were there.
Okay, cool.
So there's a lot more celebrities at this convention than any other convention. So I don't know what you say. I guess that's something.
That's just a major difference between San Diego and LA. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. But I do like the idea that there's more of a comic book centric feel to that con.
Yeah.
And, San Diego. You want to rename LA Comic Con as a Fan Expo. Well, I would like to I would say that they should rename San Diego Comic Con to San Diego Pop Culture Con because that's pretty much what it's become lately.
But it's so unanimous now, or like
it's a brand name. It's a trusted brand name now, and of course that's like it's become San Diego Comic Con has become a pop culture event for the country. But it's a fly-in convention, so people always fly in for that show. So I get it. I just wish it was comic book centric, but hey, I'm an old fart, right? So I always grasp for the past, like most old farts do. But that's cool, dude. That's cool that you got to enjoy LA Comic Con. That night I had a guest host with me, and that was Nandor Fox, and that was a great show. We were talking about what did we talk about?
I don't know. You were supposed to send me a link, and I was going to do
you were supposed to jump in and everything, but it didn't turn out that way. It didn't work out. I'm sorry, because the conversation we were having was very interesting. I just can't remember the conversation. Jeez.
Oh yeah, it was so great. I just can't remember what it was.
It was great. It really was great, and I just can't remember what the conversation was about. Gosh, man, I'm getting old for sure. Or it's been a long day. I had to wake up early, get to the office early, and I had to take my little girl to a birthday party today, and that was a lot of you know, not stress, but a lot of activity going on. So I guess now I'm getting a little tired, but whatever, but it was a great conversation. I highly recommend you guys check out the replay for that show because Nandor was very easy to talk to. And that's what I remember now. It was manga and American comics and the difference between the two. And whether or not if manga was better than American comics or vice versa. And also we asked the question, why is manga beating American comics? And one of the reasons actually that Nandor mentioned, which is the topic of our show, is price point. And he mentioned how manga now for newer readers, it's easier for a young reader. And when I mean by young reader, I'm talking like maybe 13 years old, 14, because that's around the age where I started collecting, where I started buying because I had chore money, and we can assume that most kids these days have that same deal with their parents, which is you just chores around the house, we'll give you chore money, right?
Right.
So yeah, he mentioned that it's a lot more enticing to go into a shop and you pick up this thick book, right? Black and white. It's in black and white, but it's thick. And the price point is what? Oli, you're a manga reader. What's the price point for like a 200-page, 300-page manga? Is like $10 or like $7 or something like that.
Even
whatever
if
the
it's
case,
black and white.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's black and white. But whatever the case, it's a 15, so it's $15, which is a great deal because you're getting like this, right? And you feel like you're spending your money well on a book that you can have a large story. You can have a long investment of reading the story. Whereas an American comic book, it's what, 22 pages to 28 pages, and most of those pages in that book are all ads for $5, which is like
$5 whole.
Yeah, which is like, oh, like, ugh. And
Remember
for
when you
10
could-
more, they could just go, oh, if I get the manga, I'm going to get 200, 300 pages of story for $10 more, where I only get 22, for that. So Ollie says 13 to 15, depending on the publisher. Okay, well, that's still pretty good, all things considered. So
remember when you could get Foot Long for $5?
Yeah. I remember I used to be able to get 3 books for less than $5.
Yeah,
because comic books were $1.50 back in the day when I started collecting them. I think they were $1.25 when I started collecting them.
Wow, can we go back to that?
Yeah, for $5, dude, it was. I could get 4 comic books, 4 different titles, or if I wanted to, if I had read an issue that really got me, that really hooked me, then I could always go back and buy like 5 or the 6 previous issues so I could catch up and find out what happened before then. Those days are gone. We don't have those days anymore. And you and I talked in the office the other day about the price point and whether or not it's worth it. And then we discovered that the Marvel and DC, as we saw in the video with Thinking Critical, DC offered more pages for the $5, whereas Marvel kind of stayed the same. They didn't really up their pages. They kind of just kept it at 22 to 24 pages because the rest of them, you have to remember, the rest are ads. So I don't really count those pages as part of the whole package. I only count the pages that are the story.
Yeah, because what spurred it was, obviously, if you want to go check out that video that we played at the beginning from Thinking Critical, he goes into a lot of detail on the price points and stuff like that. But one of the things that he just mentioned was how we noticed that the page numbers were different in all of them, because we were looking at all the price points and I'm like, wait a minute, the books are a lot thicker and you get more story, at least a little bit more story with the DC books than you do with the Marvel books. And obviously, the ones that are like the number ones and the specials and stuff like that, they're always going to be more. But that kind of sent us into a rabbit hole of like, well, what about the other publishers? And what about, the other comic book companies, and seeing what their price point per page is. And it's about what you would expect it to be. but it's still interesting nonetheless. The one thing that was really interesting was how DC, which I always thought, that they were pretty fair with their pricing, but yeah, definitely Marvel is definitely screwing you out of your money because I never, whenever I read all the, whenever I read all the books on my list that I pick up every single week, I always feel, at least with DC, I always get a little bit more story, and then with Marvel books, I'm always shortchanged. You know,
Yeah, I feel the same way when I read a Marvel book, and I wouldn't mind that if the stories were compelling and interesting and good. And for
Right.
the most part, they're not, and I think that's the major issue with a lot of readers who left the hobby and no longer go to the shops. I still go because I love comic books, right? So I don't care what the price point is. I will always try out a new book. I'm not that cynical about it. I'm not that pissy about it either. I wouldn't mind, because you never know, right? You just never know when someone just hits something and it just, everyone starts to talk about it. But so far, nothing yet. I found out today that they canceled the Captain America run with J. Michael Straczynski. And of course, the PR is always not covering up, but using the euphemisms is like, oh yeah, it's just it ran its course. No, the book wasn't selling well because it was boring, and that's hard. That's hard to say with someone who was writing it like J. Michael Straczynski, because I've been a fan of his work since Rising Stars, when he wrote Rising Stars for Top Cow Comics back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and ever since then, I've always been a fan of his work. He had a run in Amazing Spider-Man that he wrote with, and John Romita Jr. drew the book, and J. Scott Campbell was the cover artist for that run, and it was a great run. I really enjoyed that whole run that he did with Spider-Man. And so when he got tapped to do Captain America, I thought, great, this is going to finally bring back Captain America to what I like it to be, which is a guy going on adventures and protecting the country from, bad guys or whatever.
Right.
We didn't get that.
No.
We didn't get that. And again,
completely different.
For $5, it's like, why am I spending this much money for a book that's below average, especially from someone like J. Michael Straczynski? I don't know if it's his age. I don't know if his heart wasn't in it for the project, but it showed, because I wanted to like it, and I was enjoying a little bit of it, especially the fact that he, the first issue was he bought his old building that he used to live at before he became Captain America, and he fixed it up, and he wanted to rent it out to people who are poor, and I thought that was cool, because that's Captain America, right? That's the way he should be. But that was it.
That was it. Yeah, that was a completely different direction.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so when is the action coming? And I waited until like the third, fourth issue, and nothing came. And I was like, okay,
and then
damn, I
hung around a few issues after that, and it still didn't come.
Yeah, and so now it's like, okay, I can see how most people online are bashing this book. And nowadays with social media, you just never know when someone's being genuine about why a book isn't working. But in this instance, it's valid. It's all valid, because you and I both picked it up and read it, and it was just like, this isn't worth paying $5 for. Like, it's not at all.
And we're both huge Captain America fans too.
Yeah,
and it's like, I was looking forward to this book because it's the new Captain America, and it just wasn't it.
And not only new Captain America, but also I wised you up as to who was writing it as well. Right. And so you took the shot from my word of mouth, and so I apologize on that front, Kyle, to you for wasting your money and time. Captain America. But again, that anyone else would have been like, I'm done with comics. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not gonna keep spending $5 on this.
Right.
And so I posed a question to you and the chat. Before I do that, I just want to share Halloweener's comment here. It says, and that value price ratio is determined by the market and audience expectations. If you can provide significantly more value, even at a higher price, then it's still a good deal, which is true. Which is okay. I get the whole value system. Oh, we're using better paper. We're using better printers. whatever. Okay, but I need more than that, right? What's the story? Why should I care about your story? And that's what's missing is the value of the story. The stories are just not valuable enough to spend that high price, $5 for 24 pages to 28 pages of story. And
Right.
it's not worth it anymore. And so I'll pose this question to you and the chat. So currently, most comic books across the board are $5, $4 to $5. Depending, some publishers still going down to $3, but that's not many. It's $4 to $5. Let me ask you this, Kyle. Do you think the price point should go lower with less pages, or do you think the price should stay the same and just add a few more pages, kind of like what DC did, which I kind of like when we discovered that DC was doing close to 40 pages. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool because at least I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. What do you think
Right.
about that?
I think that because it's a double-edged sword. If you look at it from one perspective of you're going to go and add more pages and possibly raise the price, then you're getting into just basically all the books just becoming like prestige or almost to a trade paperback type of situation, which I don't know, maybe something that might happen one day where floppies go away and everything just becomes trades.
It's looking like that. It really is.
Yeah.
Not trades, graphic novels.
Graphic
That's the term.
novels.
Yeah. One story
So
graphic novels.
I would, in my personal opinion, I would probably want that more than less pages for less money, because yeah, you're getting less money, but I want the story. You
Right.
know, how
Yeah.
much it is, it doesn't really matter to me. I just want a good story per se. And I think one of the key things is like, you know, what Halloweener said is like the value and what you're actually reading. You know, when I pick up Conan the Barbarian books, I don't even think about the price on it. I just want to read the story
Right. Because
because
it got
it's
you to that point, right?
yeah, it's got me hooked. And another thing to that is mentioning the fact too that now there's not a lot of runs or a lot of the same person on a single title. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned how this Captain America, even though he wasn't really, doing a good job on Captain America, he's now leaving after I think only less than 20 issues or something like that.
15 issues. It's the
15
last one.
issues.
Yeah.
So, you're not getting these runs anymore where you're on a series for a long time. And I think that's one of the great things about the Conan series is because the writer of the Conan series signed a contract for like 3 years to work on Conan. So
What a sweet deal.
you're going to get at least 3 years worth of
Right.
Conan books by the writer that you already have established for doing good work on it.
And for the record, the writer is Jim Zub. So
Jim's up, yeah.
yeah, if you guys know Jim Zub, then yeah, you would have to pick up Conan. I messed up. I started reading it because of Jim Zub, but then there's some elements I didn't like. It was too wordy for me at times. But now Kyle has been telling me, dude, you missed out. You're missing out, man. Like it's like
You are.
yeah, it's like really good. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm kicking myself in the butt for dropping
But
the book when I shouldn't have.
But in terms of the other issues and stuff like that, I mean, we've mentioned on the show before, like when I review the Moon Knight series,
Right. Yeah.
I wanted a full Moon Knight
Yeah.
story.
I
So yet
remember
we
that.
got
Yeah.
2 half stories and only half of the one that I wanted.
That did seem yeah, unfair and kind of a cop out where you're right. It because that second story was really interesting. And if they had
Yeah.
just given it more room to breathe, it could have really done well in terms of fan service, fan expectation, and fan excitement. They're like, wow, this is really cool. Like, this is really freaking rad. Like, he's going up against Apocalypse during the time when he was ruling ancient Egypt,
Yeah.
but
He's
we
a
didn't get that.
crusader.
Yeah,
and
it was the what was it and it's over
And it's gone. And it's
gone.
over.
Oli says
Yeah.
for the quality of the floppies, paper, ink, etc., it feels like we're getting ripped off. Horrible print jobs. Yeah, I agree there too. I mean, you gotta if you're especially if someone like Marvel and DC, you gotta like bring your A game, especially if you want to retain the readers you've already lost. But
Right.
the fact that they're now doing these collected editions, the announcements in San Diego about they're gonna reprint all these books from the 80s, that's a sign that they're like, hey, remember us? Come back.
Remember?
Yeah, remember. Halloweener said,
Series?
I think that also the appeal of the 200-page manga books, insistent creative teams, and extended. There you go, right there on the nose. On the money.
On the nose.
On the money. Yeah, that's 100% too. When readers always love to feel like they're a part of the experience of growing with the creator in their long run, and
Right.
that's the reason why Marvel and DC are now reprinting these old stories, because that's exactly what happened. They wrote these stories where they took the reader when they were young on a journey, 30 to 40 issues of storylines, a run that's memorable, and now they're bringing it back because, again, it's nostalgia. Nostalgia is a very powerful tool, but that's not going to save the industry. What's going to save the industry is bringing new readers in to enjoy the stories, and unfortunately, they're going to have to go back. I don't want to say go back, but they're going to have to change. It has to change. This model is old. Like, you can't. People are so used to the Netflix. It's all there. Like, oh, all the episodes are here. I'll just sit here and do a marathon watch. And watch all the episodes, the whole season in one sitting. And so, I think now Marvel and DC are going to have to figure, like, maybe go away from this old model that's no longer working, because
I don't know, those collect those covers, man. Those, everybody wants the exclusive variant cover.
Yeah, and that's great and all, but that's not enough. That's not enough to keep the stores open, because it's always best to get new people coming back every week to keep these stores going. And, like, for instance, like the Terminator issue that came out from Dynamite, which is Dynamite, by the way, the issue of Terminator, pun intended.
It's not just really good. It's not Dynamite.
It's Dynamite. I highly recommend you pick it up. It's a great first issue. And when I finished it, I was yeah, that's it. There you go. I was really upset because it ended so fast. And I remember thinking to myself, if this was like a double size issue, or if this was like a 48-page one shot, or a 52-page one shot, or a 64-page even, where we get this long story what this guy has, the writer and artist have in mind, I would pay for that. I would pay the extra cash for that, just so I could have the whole story, because the first issue got me really hooked. Like, I'm really excited for the second issue now.
I haven't read it yet, but I want to ask you, is it its own self-contained story, though, in the overarching stuff? Okay.
Yes. Which is great. And I hope Dynamite Comics has a long-term plan for this license, because for those of you who have not picked it up, it's stepping away from the John Connor saga. So John Connor's not even mentioned in this book. Apparently the whole storyline is that the Terminators have sent multiple Terminators back in time to take out John Connor's pretty much high-ranking generals from the future, which I thought was fantastic. It's a great idea.
At least cripple his advance in the future.
Exactly. So I highly recommend it. Like I said, it's a great start. I just wish it was a little longer. And that's why I was thinking about the price point. That was worth the $5. I just wish it wasn't $5, but hey, you know what? At least it gave me something of quality, something that I could enjoy and reread, which is rare nowadays. I don't ever buy books where I want to reread the issue because of how good it was. And this issue was one that I was like, I want to reread this. It was really good.
Well, and I think that's
Halloween is just terminating John Connor's Facebook followers. That'd be cool if the writer implemented that in one of the issues. That'd be kind of cool, actually. But
it's not Facebook, or no, never mind. It's Facebook. I was thinking of Twitter for a second.
I mean, why not Twitter? But go ahead. What were you saying? What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think that's one of the main things too that's missing from, like we mentioned, that comic books should still have at least a self-contained story in the floppy itself. You can still do the overarching stories, but for somebody who just wants to get into it and read a story, a Batman story. I mean, you look at some of the, all the old Batman issues,
Mhm.
and you can read that singular issue and get a full Batman story.
Yeah.
And yes, it still has all the stuff that's going to be happening in the world and that's going to continue on, but you still get a whole story where, as we mentioned, these, comic books you get now, you only get partial stories and it always
Yeah.
ends right. You have the cover of like two guys that are going to fight, and then it ends the issue with them about to fight.
Yeah.
And the next
Right.
issue is them fighting. It's
Yeah.
like, then why did I buy that book?
Yeah.
I want,
Right, right.
how
Absolutely.
stupid would it be if on like Hulk 181, where you see Wolverine and Hulk fight, the fight doesn't happen until
Right.
182.
Well, that was different times, it was like 15 cents or whatever the case may
Well,
be
yeah.
during that time. Oli says also creators should take risks and launch double issues. There we go. Give the reader a bang for their buck. I think it's a risk willing to take if you believe in your story. 100%, Oli. 100%. I think that's what's also missing is that everything is so watered down because of the corporate, I guess, structure of modern Marvel and DC that it's tough to take risk. The latest one that I thought was worth the risk was the Lobo cancellation special one
Mhm.
shot. Fantastic. It was back to form. It was a lot of fun. And I was like, if DC keeps doing this stuff here, then they'll win me back to pick up some of their stuff. But that remains to be seen because Absolute Batman just came out,
Yeah.
and the price point for that book was actually very, very accessible. It was $5, right? Was it $5 for that one?
5, yeah.
Yeah, and it felt almost like a double-sized issue.
I
And
think
from
it
beginning to
was.
end, I really enjoyed what Scott Snyder and Nick DeGrota did for that book. It really did reinvigorate the excitement for the second issue for
So
this
this is 40,
series.
44 pages.
44 pages. Okay, so yeah, double size. Not technically, because the modern comic is 22 pages for the most part.
Right.
So
I
yeah.
think issue 2 is 32.
Okay, so they're going back down to the normal 28. I'm assuming 28 pages. I don't even know how many ads. I should have done that this week, and I didn't get a chance to count how many ads were in the regular comic book issue.
It always feels like there's a lot. It always feels like it's half the book.
I know it does. It really does. But Absolute Batman is another example of doing something right, and to add to what Oli said about believing in your story. That's what it felt like to me when I read it. It really did feel like Scott Snyder and Nick DeGrota really believed in this story they were telling, and it shows. It really does show. And I know a lot of people, a lot of culture warrior soldiers on the field said that it's woke, but I didn't see it as that personally. I kind of see it as like, no, this is something that they wanted to do. It's a creative choice. Hey, I may not like a lot of the choices they made, but overall, it was done well. It really was. And
Well,
I'm
and
looking
plus,
forward to the second issue. And I'm
it's like,
hoping that the price point, if they still have, if shops still have that issue, will hopefully lure in young readers to want to pick up that issue, because I don't know if Scott Snyder used TikTok to sell this comic. I hope he did, because that's a huge market there as well. Like if you're on TikTok and you're promoting your book, you'll probably get a lot of people wanting to buy your book. So let's hope that happens. But you were going to say, sorry, before I interrupted you.
I was just to say that it's Absolute, which is their version of Ultimate. So it's like it's
Yeah.
it's its own timeline and universe and everything like that. So that really gives them time and effort that they can just play around with the different stories and stuff. That really, it's like, okay, yeah, well, we tried something, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, okay, well, it doesn't mess up anything else. And and I think though with the Absolute Batman itself, there's a lot of people who are jumping on the Absolute Batman bandwagon.
The hype is real, man. The hype is real. Like they did a great job hyping this book. I remember when it first got announced, I was like, nah, not for me. But then I think I mentioned this in the 656 stream on Tuesday, where they at first I was like, whatever, apathetic to it, don't care. And then I started looking at the artwork more, and I was like, I really do like Nick DeGrotto's work. I'm a fan of his work, so I should really pay attention to what he's doing here for Batman. It's a big deal for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking at it. I was like, yeah, well, it's not that bad. And I was like, maybe I'll check it out just for the art. And then I heard the premise, and I was like, okay,
Oh.
this is pretty cool. Okay, I could dig this. And then that's when prompted me to pick it up, because I was like, okay, you know what? All right, I'm sold. It took a while.
I was gonna say it took a lot of convincing.
It took a lot of convincing, but that's the key. That's the importance of promotion and marketing. It just got to keep going, right? You got to keep going and slowly give me tidbits of it so I could get, all right, cool. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. The Kryptonals, Happy Harry Hardon. What's up, man? Upon further investigation, it borrows heavily from a Frank Miller story that was supposed to be the movie before Nolan. Just for the record, the Kryptonals is a huge fan of Christopher Nolan. He loves Christopher Nolan.
I mean, his Dark Knight series.
Halloweener says Julius almost has me convinced. See, word of mouth, man. Word of mouth is still the tried and true, best way to get something excited about some about a product or whatever. Kryptonal says Blue Collar Bats was a Miller. So there you go. So Frank Miller probably had the idea of, doing a blue collar Batman, which is what Absolute Batman is. Have you read it yet, Kyle, or no?
I haven't read it yet. Okay, but I know of the story per se. But yeah, I haven't read it yet. It's on because I was sick. I missed out on picking up the issue.
That pretty much sums up right there. The Kryptonals chat there is the blue collar bats was Miller idea. So I think that's what they did. They took Frank Miller's idea, blue collar Batman, and Scott Snyder took it and made it into his own, and it worked. It actually worked. And I'm not going to spoil the ending for you guys because I really do think you guys should read it. It's really worth the read. I just hope that
it's worth the pickup.
It's definitely worth the pickup. I just hope they don't drop the ball, and that's the problem, right? That's what we discussed about. Captain America, J. Miles Straczynski's Captain America was just abysmally bad. It just okay, it was kind of cool, but then it fell off. This one really started strong, so I'm hoping they stay strong because the sign of a hit is that not only does issue 1 sell out, but the rest of them do.
Right.
That's the sign right there. That's the sign. So if issue 2 sells out and then issue 3 and so on and so forth, then you'll know more and more people are going to the shops and picking it up. And let's hope that's the case because it needs to happen. Not just for DC, but all across the board. That includes indie creators as well.
Now, are you going to have the same, fervor for Absolute Superman and Wonder Woman? Are you going to go and say that you want to go pick those up as well?
I'm going to check out Absolute Superman and I will check out Absolute Wonder Woman for sure because of Absolute Batman. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, that's how it should be. You get excited for one book, now you want to read the other ones that are going to come out. I just hope the price point doesn't break doesn't break the bank because it does add up after a while.
Right.
That's another thing too about the price point is that when I was buying comics, I could go in there with $20 and walk out there with 15, 16 comic books depending on the price that I got it for. And now 20 only gets you 4.
I know.
That's crazy. That's nuts. And
I had 2 weeks worth of books to pick up. I think I got somewhere around 25 or so books, and it was $100.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
It's 25 books for $100 versus I could go and find the dollar bin and get a whole box worth of comic books.
Yeah, dude,
for $100.
Exactly. And that's why I like going to the sidewalk sales at my local comic shop when they have them every quarter or whenever, because they're $1. And it's great. I could show up there with $40 and leave with 40 comics. And and the great thing about our local comic shop that Kyle and I attend every Wednesday is that when they have their sidewalk sales, they always sprinkle collectors books in there, which is great. So that's what makes it even more exciting. The fact that we know everyone who goes knows, okay, I may find a rare book that they had doubles or triples of, and they just put them in there in random places, and whoever finds it finds it.
Yeah. For $1.
Yeah, for $1. And I found a few X-Force comics during the last one, Rob Liefeld's, the Juggernaut cover, where I forgot what number that one is, and I found a few Nightfall comics which were cool. I'm sure you found a few gems during the sidewalk sale.
I can't. Most of them that I picked up are Green Lanterns. I think I got a few that were like a first appearance of somebody that was like a newer character or something like that, but I can't remember. That's semi. It's not like worth huge money. It's like maybe like worth like $8-10 or something like that.
You paid $1 for it though.
I paid for $1, so yeah.
So like, it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
But I think as we were mentioning though, I think one of the main things though of new publishers is Image is the only publishing company that still does cheaper books with good quality. Okay. I mean, you have the all of the Transformers, G.I. Joe, all of them, they're $4. They're not $5, so it's like a little bit more, but it's definitely worth it a lot more than other ones. And especially with like Spawn and like some of the other, like,
for a second there, I thought you were going to pull out a comic book. I was like, wait,
I was reaching for the Transformers because I had.
Yeah, what was the price point for that one?
It was $4.
$4 for how many pages of story?
I think 32.
How many ads? Was it just in-house ads? No corporate ads?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah, I think so. I think Image still has like in-house ads, but no corporate ads. It's just pure story, which is
it's 28 pages.
28 pages. So 30. So 4 of those are probably in-house ads, I would imagine.
Yeah, but at least you get a full story out of it.
You get a full story, and $4 is that's reasonable. That's reasonable. With because you could get 5 books for $20.
Yeah,
as opposed to 4. I guess that's the upside to it. Yeah. Cryptos wants to know what our favorite Batman story of all time is.
All time?
That's kind of hard, man. Off the bat, I would say right off the bat, Year One for me.
Year One,
yeah, because it was the first time I saw Batman humanized and starting out, and it was cool to see him make mistakes in the beginning of his journey as Batman, which I thought was really cool.
I would say probably the Long Halloween.
Oh, nice.
Because that's the only real issue that I've read through multiple times. I haven't read through a lot because I have a lot of back issues that I'm trying to get through, but that's one that I do read pretty, like every year, go through all of the issues again. So I'd say probably that one.
Okay, that's a good choice. Very good choice. Halloweener says, I like McFarlane's insistence that comic book ads should only be at the end, never in the midst of it. I agree, dude. I agree.
Yeah.
Talk about disrupting the flow of a story that's good, right? Because we've all read certain issues where it's like it's a page turner, right? We just like, oh man, we're reading this, it's great, and all of a sudden there's a double page spread of a car ad, and you're like, oh. Okay. Yeah. I guess I got to keep on going, right? And it kind of disrupts the flow of the reading experience.
Or also with some of the Marvel books that I've reviewed, where the ad is always on the one page, like on the left side every single page. So every time you turn the page, it's on that side, and then you turn the page, it's on that side.
Yeah. It ruins it. It really does ruin, not ruin it, but it disrupts the experience, and you're like, and you have to like go back in.
Discombobulated.
Yeah, exactly. The Crypto says that his is Subway Jack from a collection of short Batman stories. No art, just story. If you can find it. Oh, interesting.
Oh,
interesting. I never heard of that one. Nice. And he gives the kudos, good choices.
This
And Halloweener also knows the pain of the double-edged car ad, at a Marvel or DC book. But yeah, that's what I liked about Wildstorm Comics when they were around, is that they always had their ads right at the end of the issue, which I loved. That made the reading experience for Wildstorm really worthwhile when I read The Authority or when I read Planetary or any Wildstorm book for that matter. I love the fact that they always had all their ads at the end of the book, which was cool.
I don't necessarily mind the ads because like I read through a lot of the old back issues.
Oh, I hate the ads, dude.
I mean like I don't like the ads, I say, but like I don't like when I'm reading like my old Green Lanterns issues. I do kind of like looking at the old ads and seeing like seeing
like
some
a time capsule,
like a time capsule type. It's like
but
check out the Atari that's coming out. It's like,
Oli asks, what if they get rid of the ads and have product placement in the story? You know what? That would be okay. That'd be okay with me, because our everyday life, it's all product, right? We buy Coca-Cola, we buy Pepsi, we use Levi jeans, right? We have polo shirts that we wear. I wouldn't mind that, honestly.
Yeah.
We drive Toyotas, we drive Fords, Hondas, we play Nintendo and PlayStation. So yeah, why not? That'd be cool. I wouldn't mind that, actually. That would work for me if that was the case. Damn, Oli, I think you just gave the corporations an idea. Shame on you. But that's a cool idea, though. I like that. Cryptnols says there was a dude I knew who was trying to do that, Oli, and wanted that to pay for the book. I mean, well, he's talking to Oli now, so. Yeah, Halloweener says Spider-Man suddenly breaks the fourth wall and has a Snickers bar. In between fights between Venom and Octopus, I like to hit,
No. If you're gonna do a Snickers, it's got to be Hulk. And it's like you're not
it's got to be the Hulk, yeah. Hulk hungry. Snickers break.
Okay, yeah, that's where. So it's not technically an ad, but I did when you mentioned that. I read that new Ghost Machine Hyde Street.
Oh, okay, yeah, from Jeff Johns, yeah.
Yeah, and there is a panel. There is a panel towards the end where one of the characters is reading a comic book, and the comic book is Junkyard Joe.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know how well you can see it. Maybe
I can't really see it, but no, I mean that's cool.
It's in
cool,
there.
But that could work.
I think that's more of like a cameo, not wink nod type of thing, not necessarily
right.
An ad.
Here's an idea that Oli says. I mean, Spidey could be swinging through billboards and have your ad there. No, and that's true. That's absolutely true. But the question now needs to be asked: how demanding would the advertising agencies be by saying, "Well, if you're gonna put our ads, it has to be front and center. Like you have to put it in the face. It can't be in the background." I think there could be a compromise there, but I actually wouldn't mind that, to be honest with you, if that was the case, because that would. As annoying it might be, it would at least keep the flow of the story of the issue intact, and on top of that, you get rid of potentially ad pages that you can use for stories, and now you could justify the $5, and actually have a total 32-page issue of story, or 28 pages of story.
Full 28 pages.
I would say 32. I think. What do you guys think in the chat? You guys think 32 pages for $5 is still pretty good, or do you think that's still too high, or should it stay at $4? Because Image is staying at $4, which is still working out for them, but nothing has really, again, like everything else, right? Nothing's really has popped other than Transformers and G.I. Joe, but those are licensed properties. That's not an Image original, like Invincible or Walking Dead or anything at that level. Everything else is kind of like Local Man is the only book that I've heard make waves, but even I heard today that they're having a break. They're not continuing it. So what's going on there? Is it because there's not enough money coming in to continue on? Are they taking a break to recover? Like, there's a lot of these variables at play here that we don't know about as to why Local Man is being held off or put on. They're taking a break. It's not canceled, but they're taking a break. But even that one is not really making waves like Walking Dead or Invincible did.
I'm gonna say I want 32 pages. I don't want it. I don't like the 28 pages because I'm reading through my old, all those Green Lantern books, and it's consistent 32 pages across the board. Every single issue is unless it's obviously oversized anniversary or annual or something like that. But it's 32 pages. So if back then they could do 32 pages at back then it was like what I think it was like $1.50, $1.75. Yeah. They could do 32 pages for that, consistently.
Yeah.
They should be able to do it now.
At 4 or 5.
Ideally at 4, but if have to 5. But I definitely don't want a 30 or a 28 page $5 book like Marvel.
Okay. 24 pages of main story and the 8-page backup. What do you think about that?
I'm not a big fan of the backups, storylines. If you're gonna present to me a whole another book, then just sell me that as a book. Don't add it to and take away the story that I'm reading now. I don't want.
What if it's a preview to get you hyped for the series that's upcoming?
Then that would be an ad. That doesn't have to be a series.
But at least it'll be an in-house. At least it'll be an in-house ad, though. It won't be like a corporate ad.
Then add that to it. Don't take away from the other story.
So weave it into the story, and then if you want to know what happens after this, pick up issue 1 of the new series that's about to drop next month or something.
Sure, do that.
Okay.
I don't want to take away from the story. If you're already gonna charge me so much, I want the whole story.
Now we were talking about corporate publishing and publishers. What about indie? Now, speaking of personal experience, I remember when I started going to the cons regularly, when I discovered them, I remember always telling myself, "Dang, you're charging too much for your book." But now I understand why. because it's really expensive to produce and print your own book. And the reason why it's so, I guess, relatively cheap for the Marvel and DC and Dark Horse and Image and those publishers who have books on their shelves in comic shops is because they're, as we all know, wholesale, right, is the cheaper. It'll be cheaper the more you order, right, and produce. And then now your profit margin can be higher the more you produce the books. And with indie, you can't really do that. It's kind of impossible. You would have to be like, you have to have like some kind of big machine behind you for that. But now I understand why. Oh, you want to charge me $25 for a 22-page comic book? And now I understand why to an extent. So the same rule applies for indie creators. Let's say you chat as well as for you. Like, it's the same deal here. Is it like something that should be talked about more and like really tackled on? Exactly. What do you guys think? What do you think, Kyle?
Well, if you're gonna definitely, if you're buying indie books and you're charging, at least you're not gonna get ads. So you're gonna have at least the story there, the full story that at least that was intended. I don't know. I guess it depends. As we've mentioned before, it kind of goes to like, well, are you buying the book to support the creator, or are you buying the book for the story? So
okay, that's a good question. Before I ask you the question, we just want to say Halloweener says product placement could really be a brilliant marketing strategy, even with your indie book. Start small, maybe advertise other indie books and target small businesses. I'm gonna write that down. I want to write that down. So and also I think Ray wants you to know. Check out the backup story in Classic X-Men 39, best Jim Lee X-Men before he drew X-Men officially.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
I will. I'll write that down.
Yeah.
Write that down.
So now back to my question to you. You went to LA Comic-Con. You finally got to meet Neff from Global Frequency, which is the running gag was that you were my AI program that I created as my co-host, so I could bounce off ideas and talking points with you. Now he discovers that you are a real person. You bought his book. Now I know you bought it because you wanted to support him.
Right.
What was the price point for his book?
So let's see. His price point for,
and no disrespect to Neff for put him on the spot like that. I'm curious to know.
I believe the Mavericks, this was $5, I think.
$5. How many pages?
I'm not entirely sure. I can open it up.
Now $5 is still great because it's oversized. So kudos on Neff for that one. Because oversized books tend to be a bit more expensive because of the size.
Do you count this as the page?
No, I count from I count from there until the end. Yeah. You're actually going to count it now?
Well, you want me to know, do you?
Well, okay. I mean, you don't have to count it now. I was just curious, but if you don't know, then
I don't know.
Fine.
I told you.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how many pages, but it's I'd say probably around 28 or so.
What about Judix? How much was Judix?
Judix was also $5.
$5, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's a little
even when it's black and white.
Black and white. Yeah, because it's black and white, and maybe he could have charged less than that, but again, it's all about profit margin for indie creators. We got to price a certain way, or else we're not going to get money back to continue on doing what we're doing.
But see, just the artist alone, even like I said, even if it's in black and white, that price point of $5 made me want to buy this even more, because like if this is the art that I'm going to get for $5 versus some of the art that I get from Marvel and DC for $5, then obviously I'm going to take this all day long, because it's the same price. It's $5. Yeah, it's not colored, but
the artwork is still impressive enough for you to want to pick it up.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it being black and white too, because it's taking place in the 40s,
right.
And you see like, okay, well, maybe it's like old black and white type, documentary type situation type thing you see on stuff. So it's like I'm fine with the noir type aspect of it, which is usually black and white. And so yeah, that's fine with me being $5, and that's the reason why I bought it, and I wanted to show it off.
Okay. Crenshaw FAO says that Pete Samedi tries to do the small advertiser thing. Not sure how well that works. Peter Samedi, by the way, is the owner of Alterna Comics. He's doing very well with his King Cryptid comic book, and he's killing it right now on his end. It'd be curious to know, to ask him. Maybe I can have him on the show and ask him like how the advertising thing works for him when he does it.
So do you advertise?
So Oli says 27. So that's pretty good. 27 pages for $5 of an oversized book, which is not bad,
right?
All things considered.
So are you guys? Is it advertising of other indie creators' books, or just?
I think it's. I don't know. Crenshaw, do you know by chance? I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's both the other indie creators and also small businesses, that maybe his local businesses that he knows personally that buy the ad space, and he uses that money to fund some more of his projects, which is nothing wrong with that, honestly.
Kind of like the what they collect now with the Mark Jewelers inserts in old comic books.
Oh yeah, right.
I
think Ray just dropped the bombshell. Kryptos Judix is going to happen.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
You heard it here first, folks.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. Just breaking stories here at the Talking Comics with Julius Freeman.
Exactly.
Halloweener says, to successfully market product placement ads, you need to have an established and an ongoing series. If you could get tens of thousands of views on Webtoons, then it might make for a compelling pitch.
Right.
Halloweener thinking ahead.
Well, yeah, you look at it from the
Oli, hold on, sorry. Oli says you pay for ad space in alternative books. We bought 2 ads for crypto. There you go. There you go. That answers that question. But sorry, what were we gonna say?
I was gonna say you look at it from the perspective of the person of the person who wants their ad in your story. They would want as many eyeballs to see their ad as possible.
Right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you are gonna be having that ad in your book, they're gonna say, well, how many people look at your book? So
Yeah.
that's
Right.
the reason why people choose specifically that they want their billboard in a certain spot on the freeway, because everybody's going to see that billboard.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Or all the millions that all the companies spend on Super Bowl ads.
That's right, because they know that everyone's going to be watching that game, so that makes sense. Right. Absolutely. Crenshaw says, I've seen other creators, lawyers, and small musician ads in some of his books. So there you go. That answers that question. So he does get local small businesses to buy ad space in his comics, and he's succeeding on that. So that's pretty cool, actually.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think at this point, indie creators, we can't be above it. we gotta utilize every avenue to get revenue in so we can continue making comic books, especially if we want to compete with for the attention of readers who are accustomed to buying nothing but Marvel and DC books, and not just those two, but also Image, Dark Horse, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's going to happen. Peter Simeti has pretty much started that trend from according to Crenshaw here, who's no doubt backed and bought a lot of his books. Yeah, I mean, would that annoy you if you bought an indie book and you saw like local ads in them? or would it be better if they're at the end of the book, like Wildstorm?
I guess. I never thought about that. I don't know. I don't think I would mind if it was local stuff that was advertised. I think I would prefer it if it was at the end, but I wouldn't mind if it was in the story per se and it was local businesses. Like, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't mind. What about you? Would you want local ad space in your book?
I think
Ghetto Dragon.
And Ghetto Dragon. Oh gosh, I don't know. Good question, actually. I think I like the idea what Oli suggested, which is I would probably sell the ad space to my local businesses or whoever and say, look, I'll implement you in the background somewhere. I'll make sure the artist leaves blank, spaces in, like, for instance, like he said, billboard or like a bus stand, and then say, oh, it'll be here on this page and it'll be in comic books that I'm going to sell to, this X amount of people. And so based on that, here's the price for having your business phone number, address, the name of your business in the comic book. So that way, if someone does see it, hey, they might, and then they're in California or whatever, they might come and, go to your shop or whatever. Roberto Mancha says, can someone buy me some comics, please?
You and me both.
Yeah. Halloweener says, just a matter of time before we're featuring product placement for OnlyFans girls. Hey, if it pays, man. Crenshaw then says, if it's got the books to me more often at a lower price than a lot of crowdfunded books, I wouldn't mind at all. So there you go. Price point is definitely a key factor, right? For people wanting to come back. And honestly, that's the reason why I kept coming back, because I remember thinking, these are only $1.50. These books are only $1.50. And I had, $25 in my pocket the first time I went to my comic shop. And I was like, oh my God, I could buy all these books, and of course I went crazy, right? Like a kid in the candy store, just looking through the bins, looking at the walls, see which ones, interested me. And of course I picked up Superman Forever. It was when they turned him back to the red cape and the Alex Ross cover, right? When he's
Oh yeah.
looking up. So picked that one up, and I picked a few Spider-Man issues, and it was cool, man. Like it was a great time for sure when I got that. So Kryptonil says we did that with Dead Tree Comics. I'll show you next time on Domingasos. Make sure there are big panels for the ads. Yeah, that might be the selling point for like selling the ad space. Like here's what the ad's gonna look like in page 54 on panel 5 or panel 3, whatever.
I guess
but okay, that's pretty cool.
It'd be up to the advertiser to like say, the only hiccup that I could see is maybe the advertiser saying, "No, I want it bigger."
Yeah, and on that point, and at that point, you would have to say, okay, do I do that, or do I go, well, thank you for your time, we'll see you hopefully next time. I'll be able to do that for you, but for now, no. There we go, right there.
Splash page,
premium price. Yeah, that would have to be like I could see it like maybe the hero standing next to like something, and there's a big old advertising next to him.
like a giant Coke ad behind them.
Yeah, something like that.
And then there's like a line that says, "Man, I'm really thirsty."
Yes, that's exactly the way it should be. Halloween says ideally you'd have advertised online business with their websites. There you go. Or maybe even their Amazon or Public Square storefront. There we go. QR codes probably would be a big deal. Like placing the QR codes in various places of the panels, and depending on how their size, you could like say, okay, well, look, we'll put this in the foreground shot of the panel. It'll be like on the corner of like a building or something, and it'll be right there. And then maybe you could have the artist draw like a graffiti, like scan this code or whatever. Yeah, something like that.
That'd be cool.
Crenshaw says, we want it talked about by the characters. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I'm real thirsty.
Halloween came up with a new hero name, QR Code Man.
Issue
1. It's just name, but QR codes everywhere.
That sounds like something like a character in like a Deadpool comic book. It's like
something, right? Something. Ray says, gonna watch Monster. Good night, fellas. Excelsior. Thank you for joining us, dude. It was great talking to you, Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. And yeah, it's cool that the ending was a very interesting conversation about, putting advertising space in indie comics, and everyone just like, oh, I got these ideas,
like QR code man.
Yeah. So going back to what we're saying, I think to answer your question, now that I think about it, yeah, I wouldn't mind having some ads like that in Good Old Dragon. So as long as it's not a disruptive ad like Marvel and DC currently have, which is like we mentioned, the double page spread of the car ad, which ruins the flow of the reading experience. So yeah, I think that would be wise for indie creators to start thinking about, in order to keep. Exactly. I always forget. It's just I'm such a non-YouTuber that I always just forget about that. But yeah, hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Let people know about this show. We just go head on about these topics and are not afraid to talk about topics that most people don't like to talk about, because most of the stuff on YouTube is drama farming, and I'm not a big drama farmer. I like to farm good, healthy conversations, something that could help us grow and help us keep this industry going, because we need to. I don't want this industry to go away. I don't want the industry to die. I want this to keep on going so that future generations can enjoy something that we enjoyed as kids and that we're still doing, Exactly, Oli. Farming readers. Exactly.
Building those experiences.
And that's what we're all about here on Talking. Let's Talk About It. And again, it's all on this conversation. If you guys have ideas or thoughts, hey, share them. We don't mind sharing your thoughts on the show and talking about it. And even though it may be an opinion we may not like, we still want you here, as long as it's respectful, and you come at it with some actual thought. then we're all about that. We're farming old and new farts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't tell who's who by looking at us.
Yeah, exactly, right? But I think that covers it, Kyle. I think we pretty much covered the whole thing, and that is that the sweet spot is definitely $4 for 32 pages would be the sweet
Or
spot
more.
today in today's market,
Yeah.
where the price point can still be pretty good in terms of new readers. I think a lot of readers do forgive average to below average stories, and $4 is kind of like, well, it's $4. It's not a big deal if I missed out on this, and I could just either toss this out or give it away to someone. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the sweet spot for today's market is $4, and the Image is currently the champion. Then
Right.
it's safe to say of that, of them keeping the price point relatively low, but at the same time giving you 32 pages of story with no ads, only in-house ads, which is, again, I don't mind, because hey, you got to pay the bills, right? You gotta market your other stuff so you can keep it going. So that I can't fault them for that. But what do you guys think in the chat? Do you guys think $4, 32 pages is the ideal? And should that also should that also apply to indie creators like myself and Oli from 656, and Cryptnals, who did the Cryptnals, Harry Hardon, Peter Samedi, in his alternative comics? Like, should we also play the same game where we also have accessible prices? Because like we said, indie is tough. We always have to kind of overprice things because that's how we keep our own lights on. But considering the fact that Neff sold you 2 of his books for $5 is a testament to his ability to be able to keep the prices low for you to want to pick up some of his books,
even if it's in black and white.
But you did it because you wanted to support the creator, right? Is that what it was?
So
let's be honest here. Let's be honest.
I bought the Maverick book to support the creator, but I bought the Judex because I did want to read it.
Okay. That one actually did entice you. You're like, ooh, this looks pretty cool. Okay.
But I mean, like, obviously though, with the Mavericks though, since we like since we read the first one, I obviously wanted to pick up this issue as well.
That's right.
Because I do like that story as well. So yes, I'd say, but more of the intrigue, I'd say, was in this issue. Because it really did, I guess, speak to me.
Halloweener says the ideal is to encourage readership by making your comics available for free. What do you think about that, Kyle?
I mean,
real quick before we call it a night.
Making comics for free. I mean, obviously, yeah, I would love to go and read something.
Now, yeah. Would you prefer? Obviously, you would prefer physical if it's free, but would you mind PDF?
I don't mind it. I mean, I would prefer physical just because I like the tangible.
Right. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Right.
There's a few issues that we've reviewed that was on this channel where there were just the PDF versions that I read, and while they were still good, I just feel, I don't know. I guess to me it feels more personable when I actually have a physical version of the thing versus just a digital version, because that way I can really see what the heart and soul, I guess you would say, in the person, in what I'm reading, versus online where I can kind of just skim through it and stuff like that. But then again, I really haven't read that much online stuff, to be fair. So
now, to add to what Halloweener here says, free online versions, would a free online version prompt you to want to buy a physical copy after reading the free online version?
Probably. I mean, if it's free, yeah. If there's a lot, I mean, if a lot of the books that I've picked up on the wall, I was able to read online for free before wasting that $5 to know that was a terrible book, I would have done that.
Okay, but it wouldn't. But since you read it already, does that take away the luster of wanting to buy the physical? Because that's always been an issue with me as well. Is like, okay, go ahead.
No, that doesn't, because like we meant, like I said, like some of those issues. I think one of them was Ben's issue with what was it? Which
Oh
one
yeah,
was
yeah, the
his?
the treats, the
Yeah, yeah,
trick or treats.
Trick or Treats. Yeah, that one. That was the online version that I read, and I want the physical version of that. So yes, that one in particular, I do want the physical version of event. You know, when because he has the it online, I think now, right?
He
He
does, but
printed
he
it.
started fulfilling his physical books, so he started fulfilling
Okay,
his that physical copies of that story.
so I have
Oli
to go.
says we need to bring down printing costs so our books can be affordable. I would have no problem selling floppies below $5. And he goes on to say, ideally, I would want to do the manga model, 100 plus pages, 6x9, or digest for $15. Give the reader the whole story, which is great. And then, of course,
Mhm.
Halloweener adds to the free online version the crowdfund collectible print editions with extras. So again, to ask you, since you are mainly a reader and
Yeah.
consumer of comic book stories, then would that also prompt you to want to get a print edition with the extra? So you get the free online story, just the story. There's no extras with this PDF. You just get the
Okay.
story, and then you find out, oh, they're doing a crowdfund there where I could get a print edition with extras, meaning sketches, behind the scenes stuff. Would that also prompt you to want like, oh yeah, I need to get this, I need to pick this up?
Probably, yeah, because I would want to have all of the stories in one place at least, and then I do, yeah, like I said, I'm a sucker for free things. So,
Right? Yeah, yeah,
like
you are.
I will go out of my way to get something if I know that I'm gonna get like an extra free thing.
he in line. He in line. When we went to San Diego Comic Con, when you make your way in, for those who have gone to San Diego Comic Con, but for those who haven't, they lead you in to the entrance, right? You have to go through this, this whole hullabaloo, this line, and they walk you through all the area where you get your bag, the
Mhm.
program, and then there's a whole long like line of
Table.
tables of just free stuff, flyers, maybe other small comic books. And Kyle here. So I'm the veteran, right? So I'm like going, I'm just looking around, going, no, okay, I'll look at this one. Oh, this one looks pretty interesting, but I kind of ignore the rest. This guy was just like grabbing, just grabbing everything.
Breaking it all in.
And I was like, geez, Kyle, he's grabbing everything.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's free.
Stuff is. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he told me. But it's free. Who cares? It was hilarious, dude. I was like,
I look over it. I look over at you, and you're only like, yeah, I'll take that one.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's free. Take it all.
Yeah, he was just back in his bag with all the free stuff, and I was like, all right, Kyle, like I get it. It's your first time. I understand.
I guarantee you, I'm gonna be doing that every time.
I'm sure you. I believe you. I believe you. Crenshaw says short 8 to 10 page digital to make you want to buy the longer physical or the digital. Hey, there you go. There's another avenue there. Yeah. And Oli says, let's make plans for SDCC next year, fellas. Yes. Are you gonna come, dude? You're gonna come down to San Diego for next year? Because if you are, yeah, dude, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Come meet up.
We'll meet up, hang out.
Find out that I'm also a real person and not.
Yeah. That you'll find out he's not AI.
That's the only way that you can find out is if you meet me in person.
So I think that sums it up for the show. Great discussion, guys. We appreciate your input. So I think to sum up, it's pretty much all across the board. Price point is definitely a big factor for comic shops to get people in, new people in anyway, and to also get back to old readers is because it's true. It's really expensive. $5 is a lot. It really is.
It is.
And especially the quality of the story, because the art is there, right? The art is always fantastic when it comes to Marvel and DC, with a few exceptions.
Well,
I said a few exceptions, okay. But overall, from what I've seen, when I skim through pages of a lot of the Marvel and DC books at my local comic shop, I'm always impressed. I really am. I'm like, oh wow, this artist is really good. But when I look at the name of the writer, I go, ugh. And I'm not gonna name any names because I don't want to be like that. But I'm like, no, I'm not gonna read this one.
No.
So at least that's going for it. But it should be the entire full experience. Not only is the artwork should be superb, the writing's got to be superb too. Maybe not everything should be exceptional, but at least average to above average should be the norm for every comic book, no matter what you're writing. You know, it could be the Sonic the Hedgehog, comic book. I should still be able to pick up a Sonic the Hedgehog comic book and read it and go like, you know what, this is actually kind of fun. My 9-year-old would enjoy this.
Right.
Like that. That's what I mean when I say average to above average. You should always bring your A game no matter what you're writing, and always know who you're writing for as well. And then maybe most people wouldn't mind, spending $5 for a comic book if they know the artwork is superb and the stories are going to be solid.
Right.
And that's all it takes.
If you had told me when I first started collecting comics that Conan the Barbarian is going to be my favorite title that I pick up every single month, I would be all like, no, of course not. I'd pick up, it's going to be like, Batman or Green Lantern or something like that. And it's like, now it's like, yeah, Conan the Barbarian, far and away, And
because Jim Zub, he knows what he's doing. He's a veteran. He's been in this industry for a long time, and he knows what he likes. And I don't know how involved he is in terms of picking the artist that he works with, but if he is involved in that, kudos to him, because he's been picking nothing but great artists to draw his stories, which I'm happy for. And again, you don't care, but see, now it's gone to the point where you don't care about the price point because the stories are so compelling to you that you just don't care. You just want to wait. You can't wait for the next issue to come out.
I know. I have to read it. And I just don't just tell me the price. I want the book. That's exactly what you want. That's what you want in the reader. It's like, don't tell me the price. I don't care.
And then also, digital free books are ideal to get readers hooked to your book if your book obviously is worth the read. And then you can sell them on either the physical copy or maybe your other works. Maybe you have a library of other stories that you have in your arsenal, and you say, hey, if you like that book, hey, check out these other books that I have for sale since you got this one for free. That's a nice hook, right, to get new readers to get your books. So there we have it. That's a great lesson there. Hopefully whoever watches the replay can learn something from here, especially if you're an aspiring comic book creator and you kind of don't have an idea of like price points and the business side of comics, because that's the one thing that we're lacking as creators and creatives is the business sense of what we want to do, which is sell comics. We're kind of lacking. We're extremely lacking in that. And I would say Neff from Global Frequency is hitting it out of the ballpark with his acumen of the business side of comics, and it's great. Another guy that I know, Project Noasis, he's been killing it. I follow him on X, and he's always posting videos of people who buy his books, and I gotta give him credit for that, because that's hard. That's tough. It's tough to sell a comic book of a character that no one knows,
right?
And they still buy it because you sell them on your idea and your book, which is fantastic. And a quick update for me on my end. Vision of Fury is in the printers. Just waiting for those books to come into my house so I can start filling them. Research Protocol, the foil cover is also in the printers, so I'm waiting for those. And then once I get those, fulfillment time, and that's going to be a whole other task. There, I'm setting up some special things. The next project I'm working on is Ghetto Dragon. So next year, 2025, will be the year of the Ghetto Dragon. I guarantee you guys that. Because I have a lot of plans for that. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool though, if it is the year of the dragon.
That would be cool.
I'm gonna look that up, and if it is, I'm totally gonna go for it. But regardless of that, 2025 will be the year of the Ghetto Dragon. Crenshaw, yeah, dude, totally. He sells nonstop, and I witnessed it firsthand at San Diego. I was with Neff, and we were talking to a comic book creator that was next to his table. And as we were talking to this creator, he was selling his book. I couldn't help but hear him stop every single person who walked by his table to check out his book. And in the 10 minutes that I was there, he was able to stop, I would say, probably like 6 random people to stop at his table and look over his books as he pitched his story and what the story was about in his book. And I was like, you're a hustler, man. I got to give you props for that. And so, yeah, he's absolutely a hustler for sure. Someone that I was taking mental notes. I was like, okay, I gotta make sure I do that when I have a table. Yeah. So yeah, so definitely a guy I always inspired by in terms of his hustle. But yeah, that's what's going on with the books. So I'm just waiting for the books to show up to my house so I can start filling them and send them out. And once again, I do plan on opening up the show once the books are fulfilled and have people to read the books. And I'm going to open up the show and let the backers come on and give me their honest critique of Vigilant Fury and Reset Protocol. And it's gonna be a rough one because I expect some people to really break me down, and I'm all for it, because how else will I get better as a writer if I don't hear the feedback from the readers? So it's kind of like my own version of the letters page of old, where back then it was write a letter and let us know what you think of the latest issue. In this instance, it's gonna be join me on my show live, and you can let me know what you think about Vigilant Fury and the Reset Protocol.
This book is bad.
Yeah. Kyle, any last words before we depart for the night?
Just shout out Neff, Mavericks, and Judex.
And Judex.
They're pretty cool. And he was one of those people that I wanted to build those experiences with.
There you go. That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Notice I stayed quiet this time. I didn't open my mouth.
That's good. Finally, you let me say my own catchphrase.
I was almost there, but I was like, no, gotta let him do it. He's got to be a man. He's got to do it on his own.
I copyrighted it. It's mine. You're just saying it just because.
Right. All right, that's cool. Again, guys, have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. We'll see you on the next one. Hopefully none of us get sick. Hopefully nothing happens and we could have this next week. But again, I always like to end the show with something interesting, something out of this world, something that's funny, thought-provoking that I find on my daily web browsing during the week, where I find some stuff that I find interesting or fascinating. And I discovered this one video. It's a short video, about 45 seconds. I'm a big fan of Police Academy. I don't know if you guys ever heard of those movies. Those were some of my favorite movies growing up as a teenager. Very funny. And there's this guy named Winslow. Oh gosh, what's his last name? I forget his last name off the top of my head, but his I think his first name was Winslow, or maybe that's his last name. I can't remember. But he was famous for doing sounds of guitars, right? Guitars with the microphone like this,
guitars aren't like this. Usually they're like this.
I know. But I was in the microphone. I messed up. And so I found this clip and I thought it was spot on because it really encapsulates what made him famous. He's doing a Jimi Hendrix impersonation. And if you have not seen the Police Academy movies, I highly recommend you check them out because they are hilarious. And even though, of course, like every Hollywood movie, as the sequel was pretty good, but then the third one kind of like okay, and then the fourth one was like okay, what the hell's going on here? And then the fifth one was like they just didn't care at that point for the fifth one. But this is what made him famous were those movies. So I'm gonna leave us with this clip of him doing Jimi Hendrix. So again, have a good weekend. We'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button and leave a comment. And for those who watch the replay, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Yep. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Y'all mind if I do some music? Yeah, is it? I'm making it too loud, It's just let me get this straight here. So I'm gonna do the music. day. Rain all day. Make my house in Malibu slide away. Dude, you know. Y'all mind if I do some music?